Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Retail News Roundup from CommerceIQ. I'm CommerceIQ's Head of Industry Insights, Timothy Campbell, and today we have another 4 articles for you. So that you can read to better understand the state of retail, e-commerce, and the economy. So let's get into those right now. The first article is from Insider Intelligence. Black Friday sales rise 12% year over year. And this is a very short, but very succinct, to the point piece of what we can expect or what we can expect of the holiday so far based on Black Friday, essentially. Of course, Black Friday just being a few days ago, the results are still coming out, but initial results seem to suggest that the period or the day was stronger than many had anticipated, based off initial reports that this article sorts from MasterCard and Adobe. Very different results, actually. MasterCard reports 12% growth. Adobe, I think, reported online to, 2.3% growth. Yeah, so very different. But in both instances, positive, because MasterCard's had a very positive forecast, which they almost hit. And with Adobe, they had forecasted only 1% growth, and they beat that, significantly overachieved that at 2.3. So maybe some different methodologies in place, but still in both instances, the forecast for both organizations vary, or the actual data from both organizations, so very positive shopping trends. Another interesting thing is that, and this is something that's important to consider, though, is that while sales were up across most categories, when you look at the MasterCard data in particular, you'll see that some discretionary goods, I think, and especially in electronics, were not up nearly as much. I think the sales growth there was closer to 4%. When you consider inflation as well, rising, 7 or 8%, that does mean that unit volume for some discretionary goods like electronics and some durable goods fell. So they actually sold fewer goods even as sales rose because of that inflation differential. So that's important to keep in mind. But overall, good summary from Insider Intelligence of the data available so far. The next piece is actually an opinion piece from a Forbes contributor, which isn't something we normally do, but I thought it was good. It had a really good summary of what we know so far from Cyber 5, and links to a lot of other reputable sources. So I think it's good to include here. And the point I want to make about this article, though, and it makes the point in the text, is that online did extremely well, right? Kind of referencing back to that same MasterCard data, online grew 14%. In-store sales only grew 12%, only being a relative term. So online outperformed in-store sales. And I think the narrative that you hear a lot about how shoppers are going back to stores and not going as much online, that really isn't true. The only point where that in-store shopping beat online shopping in terms of growth rates was early 2022. And that hasn't been the case for a couple quarters now. So kind of good to hammer that home in this article here, and just a good overview again of what we know so far in Black Friday. And then the theme here really is what we know so far of Black Friday, because the next article here is from Reuters, and it's cost of living crisis casts shadow over Europe's Black Friday. And of course, the data is coming in from Europe as well, in the UK. Some initial data tends to suggest that there's been a 0.7 increase in the volume of payments versus 2021. So growth occurring, perhaps, yes, but not as much as in the US. And again, when you consider inflation, significantly lower unit volumes as well. So, the situation looking a bit more grim in Europe and in the UK. And a lot of that's, I think, to do with, in addition to inflation, they're also dealing with a cost of living crisis brought on by higher energy costs brought from Russia's war in Ukraine, as well as some unique political struggles as well. That's causing some difficulty in their stock market too. So I'll just say a good overview of some of the impacts going into Britain and Europe as a whole. The last article here is taken from Payments, and it's TikTok turns to third parties to boost lagging e-commerce. So this is something we've tracked before or talked about before, which is how you have a few different entities looking to get into, TikTok being the foremost among them, looking to get into kind of a combination of either live stream shopping or just shopping discovery pages on their social media app. And it looks like it's met with some headwinds when it launched. Shoppers were concerned about delays and counterfeits more than they anticipated, and brands felt that sales were not living up to their expectations. So TikTok has brought in other tech startups with experience in optimizing digital commerce platforms, And it does suggest to me that they were perhaps a little bit overly optimistic. And just in general, I think social shopping has been a bit slower to catch on in the US as many Asian markets, and requires a lot of hand holding and a lot of paying attention to what works and what doesn't, and fast pivots to get it off the ground. It looks like TikTok is kind of learning that lesson in real time. Um, and it's not meeting their earlier optimistic expectations. But this is something we'll continue to keep an eye on. It's good news. It's good to keep an eye on it for brands, because social shopping is rising in the U.S. And even if it's having some missteps, it is something that continues to kind of come back and back, and people keep trying it and keep trying to iterate with it, and it is growing significantly. So good to keep an eye on that. That sums us up for the 4 articles of the week. If you are interested in reading any of those articles, you can find them in the comment section off to the side. They are all there, articles 1 through 4. And I think that being said, if you're interested in, kind of what you're hearing and the insights that CommerceIQ has, we also later this week have a 10 to 15 minute, presentation on a different topic related to e-commerce. They happen about every 2 weeks. It's always on a different topic related to e-commerce. So check out our LinkedIn page if you're interested in seeing what that is. It'll be up shortly if it isn't already. And yeah, you can check that out. That's on Thursdays at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. And I think that also sums us up for these 4 articles as well. So you can also tune in next week for another 4 articles. But with that being said, I hope you have a great rest of your week, and that you had a great Thanksgiving and are kind of getting back into the swing of things. And yeah, have a great rest of your week.